The Memphis Grizzlies wrapped up their third summer league game on yesterday. Had a few big performances, but the roster now is full. The 15-man roster is full. But if you look at the three two-way spots, there's still one open. Why is that the case? We're going to talk about it right here on Locked On Grizzlies.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies. I'm your host, Damichael Cole, beat writer for the Commercial Appeal right here in Memphis, Tennessee. That's right. I'm right here, right back in the most beautiful land in the world. A nice trip out to Vegas covering the Grizzlies. We'll have a lot of intel and insights over the course of the rest of the week from my trip. But thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On Grizzlies each and every day. Make sure you continue to tune in to Locked On Grizzlies. Make it your first listen each and every day. Make sure you continue to like, rate, review, comment, subscribe. All of those good things as we continue to make the show bigger and better going forward. But the Grizzlies wrapped up their third summer league game against the Golden State Warriors. It was a loss, 96-84 loss. But again, as I continue to say, as Joe Monax has said as well, summer league to me is less about wins and losses. I mean, if you can win, then we'll talk about that. Then it becomes more about wins. But it's less about that and more about the development of key players. And in a day and age where you see teams shut down their best players, usually after a couple games, we saw Cooper Flag, play 2 games and get shut down, and then several other players as well, especially returning guys. We see Jalen Wells is continuing to play. Gigi Jackson, after missing his previous game with an illness, returned and played again. Cam Spencer continues to play. The Grizzlies, they wish, you can see Cedric Coward, wish, Javon Simone was out there, but they are continuing to play some guys who, quite frankly, may not need much summer league action. And one of those guys who may not need much summer league action is Cam Spencer. It was another terrific offensive performance from him, 23 points from Cam Spencer in this game. And it was efficient again, 6 of 10 shooting from the field, 3 of 7 on three-pointers. He also made 8 of his 9 free throw attempts. And look, we've talked a lot about Cam Spencer at this point, and I know we talked a lot about the idea, the potential of him being a rotation player and everything that comes with that. This was a big weekend overall for him, getting a new contract, right? It's a 4-year reworked deal. I think that's important to point out because now when you talk about the guaranteed money, three full years guaranteed, he surpasses Vince Williams. In terms of, that is the most money that the Grizzlies have given to a player who's going from a two-way to a standard deal. So that goes to show you, what the Grizzlies think of Cam Spencer, because we remember what they thought of Vince Williams when he was initially promoted from that two-way contract to the full standard roster spot. But with all that being said, look, Cam Spencer is going to continue to play strong on the offensive end. And I remember when we were talking about him, I think it was last week, and some people were saying things like, oh, if Cam Spencer is playing rotation minutes, it's probably not a good thing for the Grizzlies or whatever the case may be. And look, while he is blocked by some really talented players, and I mentioned in the comments a couple of days ago, I left out Ty Jerome's name, but if you look at the backcourt of the Grizzlies right now, you're talking about Ja Morant, you're talking about Jalen Wells, you're talking about Ty Jerome, you're talking about Scottie Pippen Jr., and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope will also factor into there somewhere. But when you look at those names, the accolades those players have, Cam Spencer is lower on the list. But what I can confidently say is none of them shoot the basketball like Cam Spencer. Not Ja Morant, not Jalen Wells, not Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, not even Ty Jerome. None of them shoot the basketball like Cam Spencer. The guy is he's one of those players, when he shoots, you're surprised when he misses, more so than when he hits a shot. But he's continuing to stack really good performances together, versatile performances too. We saw the 3-point shooting. We see him in the mid-range area. He showed the floater a little bit. I think he did a nice slow step that led to a floater in this game. So nice all-around performance from Cam Spencer as he continues to stack up really solid performances. It was good to see Gigi Jackson return back to the floor as well. Gigi Jackson back on the floor, and I've said it. I've said it all off season, so I'm going to emphasize it again. And this is a good game to emphasize this point because Gigi Jackson's stats, if you look at it, he finished the game with 13 points, shot 5 of 13 from the field, 1 of 6 on three-pointers. You may be saying, Gigi didn't really have a good game like that. I call bullcrap. Gigi Jackson was solid. Gigi Jackson was very solid. So solid that he was +8, one of 3 starters. Jahmai Mashack, Cam Spencer, and Gigi Jackson was +8 winning the game. And sometimes, plus minus can be misleading. It can be, but it's not in this case. Because what have I talked about? What have Joe Mullinax talked about? We talked about the idea that when Gigi Jackson makes winning plays, it's going to translate to winning basketball. When he was in the game, the Grizzlies were +8. It had nothing to do with him missing shots. It had everything to do with his ability to thrive as a playmaker like we've never seen before. 6 assists in this game for Gigi Jackson. Anybody know off the top of your head what Gigi Jackson's NBA assists career high is? It's 4. Just 4. That's his NBA regular season career high in assists. 4. He just got 6 in the summer league game. And it's not as simple as, he passed the ball to guys and they made shots. It's the intentionality that stood out to me. There's not just this game. The seeds were being planted in the last game that he played, where we saw a couple times Gigi Jackson of old, he had good looks. If he would have shot the ball, nobody would have thought too much of it. It wouldn't have been a bad shot. But he's learning the idea that you pass up a good shot for a great shot. I got a better shooter beside me. The defense is coming towards me. Let me swing it to Jalen Wells in this corner, which he did in this summer league game. Jalen Wells knocked down a corner three-pointer. Gigi Jackson's playmaking, still very early. You know me, I'm back at the baseball court. I need a bigger sample size. But the last 2 games that he's played, it's been very encouraging. We're talking about a guy who didn't have an assist in Salt Lake City. Not one. Did not have an assist in Salt Lake City action. Now you're talking about the last couple games with multiple assists, including this game, 6 assists against the Golden State Warriors. He's getting downhill still, but he's learning how to get downhill and not just look for his own shot, but get his teammates involved as well. Really nice performance from Gigi Jackson. We'll see if he plays again in Summer League. But more than anything, I want to see that playmaking continue to improve because that's the key for him. You want to see Gigi Jackson on the floor? That's going to be the key. If he can be a guy who can make the right passes, who can make the right reads with the ability to get downhill that he has, it's going to bode well for him. It's going to bode well for the Grizzlies. And I could guarantee you, well, not guarantee you, but I would say there's a pretty good chance if you flip Gigi Jackson's stat line around in this game, if he's probably, 6 of 9 shooting from the field and no assists, his plus minus is probably worse. It's probably worse. But when you make winning plays, when you're in the game, he wasn't scoring as much, but his teammates were scoring off of his opportunities. They were benefiting from his playmaking. Good game for Gigi Jackson. I approve of it. I like what we saw from him as well. Then there's Jalen Wells, right? And Jalen Wells is kind of a tricky one. We'll really dive deeper into Jalen Wells in a future episode because I think as people watch him over the course of Summer League, some people want to see him be very dominant, right? He's a guy who's top 3 rookie of the year candidate. You expect him to come in, play 2 games. All right, Jalen, you're too good for this. Go sit down. But Jalen's performance has been a little bit rockier than that. He hasn't been bad. He has not been bad. But he's been closer to the player that we saw last season from the standpoint of the role he's playing in Summer League, from the standpoint of his stat lines, all of it. It's very reminiscent of the player that he was last season. The player that he was last season was a good player. So it's not bad to me. But I know some people are into the idea of what's his ceiling? How much can he improve? How much is he supposed to improve? Jalen Wilson this game played 26 minutes, 11 points, 4 of 12 from the field, 3 of 9 from three-point range. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it as it pertains to Jalen Wells because, number one, and I'll talk about this in an upcoming story, like Jalen Wells wants to improve in certain areas as much as anyone who's playing Summer League. the Grizzlies. He knows that he needs to be a better shot creator. He knows that he needs to be, a stronger defender. Right? We saw last season so many times Jalen Wells thrived against those smaller guards. But when he played the bulkier guys, the LeBron James, the Kawhi Leonards, the Luka Doncic's of the world, they tend to get the best of them. But you know what Jalen Wells did? Got in the gym. Jalen Wells 220, 225 pounds is what he told me he is now. He played last season at around 205. So we're talking about a guy who's put on roughly 15 to 20 pounds. And that's what he told me. So I think overall, I'm not taking too much of this from him. Yes, he only had one assist, but Jalen Wells is the player who I think in some league who benefits the most from having a point guard out there. There's no point guard out there right now. And his shot creation is not good enough, like a GG Jackson, where, okay, no point guard, he can still be as effective for the most part. That's not Jalen Wells' games. But when a point guard is out there, if Javon Small was playing, I think we would see, much better kind of, I guess a much more efficient is the way to put it, offensive performance from Jalen Wells. But overall, solid game from him as well. Nothing to really fret about. But again, the Grizzlies are down a couple guys. No Cedric Coward, no Javon Small. But hey, it's summer league. It's all about progress. It's all about development. Speaking of development, Jahmai Mashack was kind of drafted as a developmental prospect for the Grizzlies. We haven't seen him yet sign a contract. What does that mean? We're going to break all of that down coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies. But before we get to that, today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can be. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com and the code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Make sure you go take advantage of that now over at monarchmoney.com. Jahmai Mashack was put in the starting lineup in this most recent game against the Golden State Warriors. Zion Pullen came off the bench. We haven't talked much about Zion Pullen, but he hasn't been great in summer league. And we'll get to that a little bit more here in a second. But Jahmai Mashack joins the starting lineup, and he is another player who put together a really solid performance, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, a block, 6 of 10 shooting from the field, and he knocked down his 2 3-pointers, 2 of 3 shooting on 3-pointers. Now, the man told us, first time he walked in FedEx Forum, talked to the media, he said, my jumper's underrated. And everybody's like, well, his numbers were what they were at the University of Tennessee. And he's like, no, I didn't shoot a high volume. But here he's talked about how the coaching staff wants him to shoot. He has that trust. He has that confidence. Not just as a shooter, as a playmaker as well. And what you're seeing so far is, quite frankly, a player that just looks a step better than he was at the University of Tennessee. I mean, I just read it off the stat line. 15, 5, 4, 4 steals and a block. That's just Jahmai Mashack. He's going to wreak havoc defensively. He's going to, every time he steps on the floor, he's going to be one of the better defensive players on the floor, point blank period, every single time. That's who he is. That's how he got drafted. And this is another performance, I think, that he's stacked up, right? He's starting to stack these solid performances up where he's making a case for being a valuable member of the Memphis Grizzlies franchise. But how valuable? How valuable is Jahmai Mashack? Because I alluded to it in the opening. The 15-man roster is officially full. The Santi Alama contract is official. The Cam Spencer contract is official. Ty Jerome, Jaren Jackson Jr., all of it is official. Paperwork signed on the dotted line. Javon Small second round pick for the Grizzlies. Official. Cedric Coward, first round pick. That's a guaranteed deal. Nothing to worry about there. However, Jahmai Mashack, second round, number 59 overall, has not signed a contract. We know it's not going to be a standard deal. As we just said, 15-man roster spot is full. The Grizzlies have one spot open right now on the two-way. Why hasn't Jahmai Mashack signed it? Why haven't the Grizzlies signed it? Javon Small signed a while ago. Jahmai Mashack right now is playing for an opportunity to be on this Grizzlies roster going forward. And I don't think it's anything for anybody to worry about. I don't think it's anything for anybody to worry about at all, because if he continues to play like this, he'll force the Grizzlies' hand. But I think the fact, again, sometimes you got to read between the lines. The Grizzlies have not signed him. Second round pick, last pick of the draft. They have a two-way spot open. I've touched on the fact that I believe it's a very realistic chance that the Grizzlies end up using one of their two-way spots on adding another big man for depth. Now we're looking at what just changed on the roster in the past couple days. The Grizzlies now with Will Magnay started in Summer League this past game. He was hurt. Started over Armando Bacot so the Grizzlies could get a better look at him. Had a solid game, rebound in the basketball. I think he had 6.6 rebound. Armando Bacot has put up a couple doubles in Summer League as well. So you got two bigs who internal bigs, I would like to call them. I'm sure there are other bigs the Grizzlies may look at throughout Summer League on other rosters. We saw that last season, right? Jay Huff was plucked off of another Summer League roster, ended up being a valuable player for the Grizzlies. So the point here is, will Jahmai Mashack be on the Grizzlies roster? I think so. I think it's close to. I would be very surprised. I would be very, very surprised. But I think the way that Summer League's going, the player that I'm more worried about is Zion Pulling. And granted, I want to point out the fact that he's one of those players who's playing out of position right now, right? No point guard. So you're seeing Cam Spencer, you're seeing Zion Pulling. Guys like that play out of position a little bit more. But I'm looking at Cam Spencer. He's thriving. He's still finding his shots. Zion Pulling has struggled to the point where Jahmai Mashack was put in the starting lineup over him. So I'm looking at it right now as the Grizzlies still have a two-way slot open. I think I can say that it makes sense for them to add a big. Makes a lot of sense for them to add a big with a two-way spot. But then you have Jahmai Mashack and Zion Pulling. Let me know what you guys think. Who gets that roster spot for you? Who gets the two-way slots? How do you feel the two-way slot? Do you think it's as simple as, give Jahmai the last spot and you keep Zion Pulling? Or is it, you prefer Zion over Jahmai? You prefer Jahmai over Zion and going to get a big? I think the way that I see this playing out is Jahmai Mashack gets a two-way spot. The Grizzlies end up parting ways with Zion Pulling. They end up going to get a big to fill the other spot. And Javon Small already has, he already signed his two-way deal. So that's kind of how I'm viewing that situation. And until Jahmai Mashack signs his two-way deal, it's going to be a talking point. It's going to be something that we continue to look into. But coming up here next on Locked On Grizzlies, we got to talk about one of the Grizzlies who kind of was in the cut over the weekend. He didn't come out to Summer League because he had some other special things going on in his life. We're going to talk about that coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies. Welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies as we're breaking down Summer League action in the first segment. In the second segment, we talked about Jahmai Mashack and his potential roster spot going forward. And now in this segment, we don't got to worry about this guy with a roster spot, and that's Santi Alama. First and foremost, a lot of congratulations are in order for Santi Alama. Number one, he got married over the weekend in Spain. Congratulations to Santi Alama and his now wife on the marriage. A lot of people, some people from the Grizzlies organization attended the wedding as well, and a couple former teammates were out there, including Steven Adams and Desmond Bain. Really good to see Santi Alama kind of grow And when I say really good to see, I'm talking about my perspective. Is when I got here covering the Grizzlies, Santi Alama was a rookie, and just seeing him kind of grow as I was a rookie beat writer as well. So seeing him grow and kind of mature over the last couple of years. And speaking of his maturity, he was also named to the NBA board of directors and put in a NBPA, excuse me, board of directors, put in a power position. So Santi now joins Jaren Jackson Jr. as Grizzlies players who are members of the National Basketball Players Association with roles, and his role will be kind of tied into the fact of helping progress the game, on a global level. So congratulations to Santi Aldama for that as well. And then another thing is Santi Aldama's contract is another one that became official after everything that happened with Jaren Jackson Jr., right? We talked about on here how Jaren Jackson Jr., his contract was the big move that needed to happen. Once the Grizzlies figured out that and the Cole Anthony buyout, everything started to flood in. Huge weekend for Santi Aldama. Um, and I think as we talk about Santi's maturity, it's a nice way to segue into the maturity and the growth of this team. And I think this is a year where it's the Grizzlies are a wild card, right? They are a huge wild card. But I feel like personally, this is just me personally speaking, I think the maturity of this team could be better than any of the previous seasons I've been covering the team, which is since 2021, 2022, the 56 win season. Yes, that's including the year they won 56 games. And even when they did win 56 games, it was, it was a lot of, I think, you could say, growth. That's what we'll call it. There was a lot of growth that happened over the course of that season. They were just a bunch of young guys having fun. They had some vets. Kyle Anderson was the glue. Tyus Jones, DeAnthony Melton was solid. So many more players, but that's neither here nor there. It's more speaking to this team. This is a team that's had a lot of internal growth. When I talk to these younger players out at Summer League, Cedric Coward, Javon Small, um, all these guys speak highly of these Grizzlies older players, and of course they do, right? And on camera talking about their teammates, but it's the little things, right? I was talking to Javon Small. He mentioned how John Morant came into the locker room. That's something we didn't see on camera. John Morant came into the locker room, dapped up all his teammates and things like that. Kind of encouraged them. It's just big moments for those players. Jaren Jackson Jr. before his injury, coming down there and working out with them. Scottie Pippen Jr., who's now, who had been in Vegas over the past few days while I was out there working out with his teammates as well. It's those things that lead me to believe, this could be a more mature version of the Grizzlies going forward. It's a different coaching staff, so you're gonna have kind of a different pulse overall. But I think that's a good way of looking at it. Where you got Ja Morant, you got Kentavious Caldwell Pope, who's gonna bring that veteran presence. I talked to a lot of people out in Summer League. I mean, a lot of people know Kentavious Caldwell Pope. He's been in the league for a while, but a lot of people talked about, how he's going to be a great veteran for the Grizzlies. And then John Morant went on to say it himself, how KCP could be, that type of veteran that the Grizzlies, have needed. And he's going to play, right? Like we talked about the idea on here that maybe he doesn't start, maybe he does. But at the end of the day, Kentavious Caldwell is going to play. He's going to be a defender that they rely upon. He's going to get a guy who's probably going to be in some closing lineups if he's not in starting lineups, however it plays out. Kentavious Caldwell Pope is going to be a key member to this Grizzlies team. I think adding Ty Jerome, you still get that, you still got that fire, right? Because Ty Jerome going to talk a little bit, and if you've been listening to Cedric Coward, he's a rookie, but he likes to talk a little bit too. And we know that's always going to be a part of the Grizzlies' identity. But I think now, as they've kind of gradually shifted in another direction, you're starting to see, Jaren Jackson Jr. develop into, this older, more mature player. Ja Morant, again, we just talked about how his teammates have kind of received him since he's been here. Brandon Clark as well, Grizzlies players have talked about. He's another guy who's been visible, who's been, kind of, making himself available to his teammates as well. And that's kind of been a familiar theme And quite frankly, the kids aren't the kids anymore. I mean, Brandon Clark and John Morant. I mean, they're years in. Jaren Jackson Jr. is years in the end now. Like they're pretty much on vet status. They've been through a lot. That core group of players have been through a lot, and now I think it's going to be very important that the Grizzlies kind of rework this thing, right? Um, there was an article that came out. Shout out to my co-host Joe Monax. He sent it to me, and in the article, it talked about 6 teams. It was an SB Nation story. 6 teams stuck in purgatory in the NBA. 6 teams. I think Ricky O'Donnell was the guy who wrote the story. Chicago Bulls were on there. Miami Heat were on there. Toronto Raptors were on there. Sacramento Kings, Phoenix Suns, and then last at the very bottom, it was the Memphis Grizzlies. And stuck in purgatory is a strong way of putting it, but I think when you talk about the Grizzlies and where they are right now, is there's a reshift. As Tayshaun Prince, when he was on the broadcast of the Summer League game recently said, they're not rebuilding, they're just retooling this thing. And it may take some time, but I don't look at them as being stuck in purgatory. I look at them as being a team who they have the vets who are going to kind of lead these younger players, right? The Cedric Cowards, of the world. They got some guys like Contavious Caldwell Pope. I think you could put Ja and Jaren, in those categories now. They're not babies anymore. They've been here. They've done that. So they understand the game. You got a nice mix of veteran guys and young talented players on this roster, like Cedric Coward, like Gigi Jackson, like Jalen Wells, like Zach Edey. There's a nice mix that you have, and the goal for this team has to be, to have a fast uprising, right? You want to come in this upcoming season, you want to show, hey, we can compete, because if they don't, we're going to be having some different conversations. But if this team can be a team that potentially pushes for a top 6 spot in the West, and then as we see over the next couple of years, they'll get older, they'll get more mature, and potentially challenge for a different spot. We'll see how that process continues to play out for the Grizzlies over the course of time. But thank you guys for making Locked On Grizzlies your first listen each and every single day. Look, for your second listen, find the Locked On NBA podcast where there is no offseason. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On Grizzlies with me on today. Tomorrow, Joe Monax will be back with you. I'm going to head back out on vacation. Las Vegas wasn't a vacation for me. That was work. But now it's time to go on a quick little vacation. I'll be back with you on next week. But shout out to my co-host, Joe Monax. He'll be picking up the slack. He'll be with you guys, breaking down a lot. He's got a lot to talk about tomorrow. I'm going to let him do that as well. But appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Grizzlies with me on today. And remember, the Locked On Grizzlies is free and available wherever you get your podcast. I'm Damichael Cole, and we'll see you on Locked On Grizzlies.